Think about this for just a second. The forest isn't just wood. The river isn't just water. And trees, well, they don't just give oxygen. For some communities out there, all of these things are literally God. We're so used to treating nature like this giant vending machine, right? Just a resource to be extracted. But what if it was actually divine? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring something absolutely fascinating, a deeply rooted faith that's very much alive right now in India's tribal heartland, especially in the lush forests of Jharkhand. It's a faith with, well, no holy book, no single prophet, and no grand towering temples. Yet, millions and millions of people proudly claim it as their absolute core identity. It's called Sarna Dharma. I am so thrilled you're here with us, because getting a grip on this ancient belief system actually offers some pretty profound answers to the modern crises we're all facing today. Okay, let's dive into this. In this explainer, we'll be tracking a journey from ancient spiritual roots to a massive modern-day movement. We'll cover the soul of Sarna Dharma, then festivals and sacred regions. After that, the Sarna Code demand, and finally, challenges and global lessons. Section 1. The soul of Sarna Dharma, a complete way of life. Picture this for me. Imagine that mitti ki khushbu, that incredible earthy smell after it rains, while an entire village prays together surrounded by ancient, towering sal trees. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast. Think about organized religions for a second. Usually, you've got holy books, singular prophets, these massive grand temples. Sarna Dharma completely flips that script. It doesn't have a centralized, rigid authority. Instead, it relies entirely on rich oral traditions, ancestor worship, and, this is the beautiful part, treating the forest as a literal relative. Trees, rivers, mountains, the sun, the earth, they're all inherently sacred. It's like nature itself is the grand temple. Because of that deep connection, nearly every single tribal village has a Sarna sthal. Basically, it's a sacred, protected grove of trees. But it's not just a place to pray, it's genuinely the cultural heart of the village. It's where the community meets and makes decisions. And here, the village priest, known as the Pahan, leads rituals that connect everyone right back to their ancestors. And those ancestors? They aren't just memories, they're revered as eternal protectors of the lineage. So who exactly makes up this community? Well, the followers of Sarna largely belong to major tribal groups, primarily the Munda, Orion, Ho, Santal, and Kaudia tribes. And here's something that just kind of blew my mind. Today, the modern world is scrambling, right? We're desperately fighting a massive climate crisis, trying to figure out ecological ethics. Well, these specific communities have been flawlessly living out sustainable, eco-friendly lives for centuries. They were literally living the solution long before the rest of the world even realized there was a problem. Section 2. Festivals and Sacred Regions. Let's shift our focus now from the spiritual philosophy over to the incredibly vibrant community life and the actual geography of Jharkhand. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how deeply rooted this civilization memory is across the diverse districts of the tribal belt. Up in the Chota Nagpur Plateau, places like Ranchi, Kunti, Gumla, and Simdega, you predominantly find the Munda, Oran, and Kaudia tribes. Move over to the Kolhan region, Chaibasa, Saraikela, and that area is heavily represented by the Ho tribe. And up in the Santal Pargana region, the Santal tribe leads the way. It's a massive geographic footprint, but the whole thing is completely united by the shared reverence for nature. And let me tell you, across all these districts, community life is just electric. It's anchored by major festivals like Sadhul, Karma, Sohrai, and Maje Parab. These aren't just standard get-togethers. When Sadhul arrives, the drums botch to hand. The drums start echoing, the energy shifts, the entire village dances, and they collectively say a huge thank you to nature. They're celebrating the harvest, the regeneration of the forest, they're celebrating their unity, and honestly, they're just celebrating life itself. It's the whole shebang. But right here is where our narrative takes a pretty sharp pivot. We've seen the cultural beauty, the scale, and the totally distinct philosophy of Sarna, which leads us to a massive, genuinely pressing question. If Sarna is such a distinct, independent faith, then why doesn't it have a separate identity in the official census? Section 3. The Sarna Code Demand. This is where we look at the modern movement, because this is an issue of sheer existence, not just religion.
So this is exactly where ancient traditions crash into modern socio-political reality. Because there isn't a specific code for Sarna in the official census, followers are currently getting heavily fragmented. Many are counted under Hindu, some under Christian, and others get grouped into ORP, which stands for Other Religions and Persuasions. Impartially speaking, you can absolutely understand the tribe's fear here. They're deeply worried that this constant fragmentation will cause their unique, centuries-old identity to slowly just dilute and disappear.
Now, this demand for a separate code has been brewing for years, but it hit a literal milestone in the year 2020. That was the year the Jharkhand Legislative Assembly officially passed a resolution supporting the demand for a separate Sarna religious code. It was a huge moment that amplified the voices of the tribes and really pushed the whole issue onto the national stage. So the crucial point is understanding exactly why this demand matters so much. First off, it's about cultural preservation, protecting those specific rituals, the tribal languages, and those sacred groves we keep talking about. Second, there's immense ecological importance. In a time where global forests are being destroyed left and right, officially recognizing a faith that actively teaches forest protection is a pretty big deal. And finally, it comes down to constitutional rights. The Constitution guarantees freedom of religion under Article 25 and the protection of culture under Article 29. For the supporters, getting a Sarna code is simply about fulfilling those core constitutional promises for indigenous people.
Section 4. Challenges and Global Lessons. Let's transition into the complexities of making this happen and what the rest of the world can actually learn from Sarna philosophy.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a much larger debate. Because realistically, implementing a whole new religious code isn't perfectly straightforward. We have to look at this impartially. On one side, you have supporters who argue this is fundamentally about recognizing their identity and protecting their culture. But on the flip side, the government faces very real administrative hurdles. For instance, tribal practices across the Munda, Santal, and Ho communities aren't completely identical. There's a ton of diversity. So creating a standardized census classification and verifying it, not easy at all. Plus, there are political fears that formalizing this could stir up complex identity politics in the region, so it's a very delicate balancing act between logistics and indigenous rights. So, where do we go from here? The source material lays out a few actionable steps to move forward. Number 1. Deep, continuous tribal consultations so that any classification actually represents the people accurately. 2. Immediate efforts to physically protect those sacred groves, the Sarna salts. 3. Actively promoting tribal culture. And 4, properly implementing existing laws, like the Forest Rights Act and PESA, which empower these communities to govern their own resources. These steps are absolutely vital right now, especially when you look at our modern world, which is dealing with so much intense mental stress and social fragmentation. We'll wrap it up there for today, but I want to leave you with this profoundly simple yet radical thought from the Sarna philosophy. Human beings are not owners of nature. They are part of nature. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Ask yourself, imagine just for a second, if the entire globe adopted this exact tribal philosophy of coexistence right now, how completely would that change our approach to the global climate crisis today? It's a powerful question to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparked your curiosity to go out and learn even more.